Okay, hey you guys, I have got this little video prepared for you. We're going to do two of the problems from the practice test with calculators. This is the one about the profit that you get for the company Wayne's Wacky Widgets. And they've got this equation that will model how much profit they'll make based on how much money they put into advertising. If you don't advertise, nobody knows about your product. You don't make any money. But if you saturate the marketplace with thousands of dollars of extra advertising, people tend to not like you, you waste money, you don't make any profit. But somewhere in the middle is the Goldilocks amount, where you have just the right amount of advertising to make the maximum amount of profit. Remember, equations can be in different units. This one happens to be every x is in $1,000 units. So if x is 3, that means $3,000. If x is 10, it means $10,000. You have to be very clear about what your x's stand for when you go to set the window. Profit is also in thousands, so if you put in 5 for x and you get out 10, that means you invested $5,000 in advertising and you got out $10,000 in profits. We'll get to that when we set the window, but right now you want to type in the equation very carefully into your calculator, okay? I've done that here, you can look and see, and here's the equation. So pause this and see if you can spot any errors in my typing, because I found that more than half the mistakes are just errors in typing. Okay? So pause me. Alright, we're back. You'll notice that I did not put the negative sign in front. I just typed happily and I left out that all-important negative sign. That means our thing is going to curve downwards, which is very important for the graph. So I'm going to do second, and the delete key gives me an insert, and I type in the negative, not the subtraction key. If you put in the subtraction key, it'll tell you syntax error, and it won't work. And I can't help you. This is your chance to really learn that, like I said in class. All right, then as you read through it, you'll notice I left off the 8, the x after the 8, so I'm going to go along and insert that there. Again, you can get to the spot. This calculator on the computer is a little bit slow for that. I'm going to probably go zooming by it, and I did. I'm going to come back. It's a bit tedious, but your calculator won't have this lag time like mine does. And I get to that spot, and then I do second, insert, and I hit the X. And now my equation should be correct. All right? So once I've got it correctly typed in, I go to the window. And this is often one of the hardest things. I did zoom 6 just to get a standard window, but in the real world, it's not often that your standard window will work, because we don't have negative money to put into advertising. We might have negative money in profit, that's called loss, but these numbers are very unlikely to work for us. So I need to think about my problem. My x's, as we learned over here, are in the reading of the problem, stand for the money put into advertising. Well, I can't put in negative money, so I'm going to start at 0. I can put in $10,000 certainly, but I'm not really sure. How big a corporation is this? Well, if you read further along in the problem, you'll see that I give you some hints that we're talking about sums on the neighborhood of like $100,000. That's one of the questions in Part C. So it really helps to read the whole problem and get a sense as to what you might put in. If I want to go to $150,000, well then I type in 150, because it's in thousands. You do not need to type in 150,000. That would be wrong. Then here, the scale, maybe make that every 25. It's just your little marks across the bottom. When in doubt, leave it 0. All right? Then I go down to my profit. I might want to be able to see negative 10,000. That'll sometimes get the numbers out from the bottom when you're tracing things. So sometimes a small negative number is good. I'm then going to go, I hope that if I'm going to make at some point a profit of 150,000, I would go like twice that as a good starting figure. A lot of times you need to refine your initial guesses. You should expect that. And I'm going to make a scale of maybe 50. And then I go to graph. And I'm pretty lucky. I see it very well. I maybe need to shorten my x's down, but that's just about perfect for the y, so I got a little lucky there. I go back to my window, and I'm going to make my x's maybe go only to about 50. Okay? And then graph, and there it is. That's great. Okay? So now I want to answer my questions. Well, first I'm going to sketch that, and I'm going to label it carefully. I would just do approximately what I see there, and I'd label my window from, what did I say, from 0 to 50 this way, and then from 0 to 300 that way, and you can just write in thousands, okay? Or you can write like that if you want as well and make it the number, okay? Either one is good. But I want to find the greatest profit. The point of maximum profit, you can easily find that three ways. I can go to the table, and I could look for the biggest number. I can go back to my graph, and I can simply go to the cursor and steer the cursor right there until I get up to the spot. Okay, and that's going to get me very close. In a pinch, that will certainly work. A little fancier way is to go to second and the trace button, and I'm going to find the maximum point 4. I press on 4, and it wants my left-hand boundary. I just make sure I get that to the left. I'm to the left of the bump. I hit enter. I get that little arrow pinching it off. I go to the right-hand side of the bump. It can be anywhere. I hit enter, and now it wants me to guess. Well, I can guess if I want. I don't know why it says that, but there it is. My maximum profit is $252,000. Make sure you put thousands onto that. If I'm running a business, that means I can make a little bit more than $250,000 profit. That's very important to know. But even more important is what amount of advertising will get me there, and that's $19,800. So the greatest profit is right there, but the amount that gets me there, my X equals $19,000, $19,800. Okay, if you'll notice in the practice quiz, I asked for both of those numbers. Find the X that will give me a profit of $150,000. Best way to do that, rather than just tracing and finding, is to go to Y equals and to go down and type in 150. That's 150,000, and then draw a line. And I want to find probably that point of intersection, but either one is fine. Again, if I do second and trace to get to calc, and I do intersect for 0.5, if I go choose option 5, and if I steer this over so that it's closer to that point of intersection, I just hit enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and there it is at 11.99. So very nearly 12,000 works. Okay. If you found this point, that's fine, unless I specify the smaller of the two amounts. Okay. Finally, when will the profit go down to 0? I want to find out when it goes down to 0 here. I can just simply go to trace and then trace along till it goes down to 0 and read that answer off. I'm going to look at my Y numbers. They're getting smaller, smaller. Up there it's at negative. And I'm going to go to from positive 23 to negative 11. In between that will be about 28.5. So if I invest anything more than about 28,500, it'll drive my business into the ground. All right. So 28.5 or 28,500, and that's good.